Hello everybody! I'm excited to tell you about a reading challenge that I'm going to be hopefully starting later this month and carrying forward up until the end of March. Now, when I set my 2025 resolutions and shared those over on my blog www.reviewsfeed.net, I shared my intention to take a look at some of the Goodreads reading challenges. Now, of all my resolutions that I set in 2025, this is the one that didn't really get the traction I wanted to give it. And it's because I was focusing more on my other priorities, such as finishing series at the time, picking up nonfiction and that sort of thing, that I didn't really have the bandwidth to do this as well. So it's not a goal I have set myself again. But because I am a few achievements through the Goodreads Winter Challenge for 2026, I've decided as a one-off I want to have a stab at completing this challenge before the end of March. As of recording this video, I've naturally picked up 5 out of 12 of these achievements just in picking up what I wanted to throughout January, but also from February so far. Those are Page Turner, Speed Reader, Choice Archive, Book Boss, and what's the last one? Anyway, I'll include a picture. There's 5 total that I've achieved so far. And what I'm looking to do is to pick up the rest through either books that I want to read anyway, and there's one book that I'm hoping to read in companion with a book that qualifies for this challenge that doesn't strictly go with this challenge. But if you have read my 2026 resolutions post or are aware of my fixed reading list for the year, there's 2 books that I want to read kind of together, and you'll see why once I tell you more about those. So this book includes one book that isn't strictly related to the challenge, but is a challenge, if you like, I'm setting myself. And then I have a few reads that I'm hoping will meet the rest of the criteria for this Goodreads Winter Challenge. Let's take a look at those now. The first book I'll be picking up towards this challenge actually counts for 2 of the awards I've not received yet. That book is Wild Dark Shore, which I added to my reading list recently, but it goes towards 2 achievements that I've yet to get. Those are Lasting Reads and Star Selection. Now, I really like the sound of Wild Dark Shore. As somebody who lives on an island, thankfully nowhere near as desolate as this place sounds, but I love the atmosphere the synopsis kind of lends to this book, and I think it's going to be a really interesting read to discover who this person is that washes up. And also, like, the beginning of this book caught my attention. I featured it on a First Lines Friday post over on my blog, and Rowan is kind of already set out to be interesting because she describes having a very negative relationship with her mother, but when she believes she is drowning, that is the person she thinks of. And of course, that has you asking questions like, why? So I am intrigued by the sound of this book. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this one and netting myself 2 achievements for 1 book. That's a bonus, given I'm going to be reading a book that doesn't even qualify, but we'll move on to that next. The next Goodreads challenge prompt that I will be looking to get is about retellings. And for this particular prompt, I fortunately have a book on my TBR that's going to qualify. That book is called Julia by Sandra Newman. Now, if you are unfamiliar with this book, Julia is a retelling of George Orwell's 1984. Now, I received a copy of this book last year, so it's been on my radar for a little while. And it may be quite obvious to you now that the book I want to read in tandem with this one is the original 1984 by George Orwell. Now, I have already read this book, but what I want to do is go back and read that original again, and then go and read Julia as an alternate perspective, and I kind of want to compare what these books are like, how the retelling differs from the original, what overlaps there are, how close it is. So this prompt has 2 books. So I'm making up for the fact that the first book satisfies 2 achievements. So we're netting off 3 for 3 so far. The next challenge is to read a book for Black History Month. And whilst I'd hoped my current audiobook listen of Dreams from My Father was going to qualify, it unfortunately doesn't. Now, that's not the end of the world. I'm really enjoying that audiobook, so I'm happy that I picked that up anyway. But instead, for this prompt, I'm picking up a book I added to my TBR last year, which is An Arcane Inheritance. Now, An Arcane Inheritance is a book that appeals to me anyway, because it falls under the dark academia genre. It's one I haven't read for a little while, and this particular book is recommended for fans of the likes of R.F. Kuang's Babel, so I think I'm onto a winner here. Now, this kind of book deals with dark magic, the dark academia kind of setting, but deals with like the occult and a protagonist who feels like she's been at this kind of prestigious school before. So I'm looking forward to reading this one, and obviously it's a nice win for ticking the box for Black heritage in a way that, you know, the book already suits my preferences in terms of reading genre and style as well. So I'm looking forward to that one. Next is the challenge that I was at first kind of scared to look at, because it's based around love, romance, and kind of, you know, with Valentine's Day coming up, I'm not a big romance reader. So I had to find a book that was obviously going to meet this challenge, but also not just read anything for the sake of the challenge, and try to come up with a book that I was going to enjoy. Now, I have chosen a book for this, and it's called A Study in Scarlet Women. Now, this book has a mystery element to it, which does appeal to my reading tastes, but it's about a woman. It's a book that plays on kind of the known character of Sherlock Holmes. But instead of Sherlock Holmes being a legit man, it's actually a woman using the name to help clear her family after they are accused of murders. So it has a mystery that I'm really looking forward to kind of unraveling. It's in a Victorian setting, which I really like, but also kind of playing on the Sherlock Holmes, but being almost like a bit of a feminist take on it. It kind of really works for me. So thankfully, this book qualifies for the challenge, so I should be able to meet this one no problem. Down to our last 2 challenges now. We have 2 that currently haven't been officially unveiled as of recording. Now, one of these, I think I can make a reasonable guess at a book that might qualify, or at the very least, it's on my fixed 2026 TBR, so even if it doesn't technically qualify, it's not going to be a waste of time if you like reading the book. Now, I've also wanted to get to this book a couple of times. I gave myself a 20 books of summer reading challenge last year, and I didn't get to this book then. But I believe I've also set it later last year, and again, didn't get to it. Now, this book is quite chunky. It's just over 600 pages, but it's about kind of the biological history of women and how that's shaped humanity. And that book is Eve by Kat Bohannon, looking to meet the challenge for Women's History Month, which falls in March. Finally, the last challenge is admittedly one I have no clue whether I have a book that's going to meet this criteria or not. So I'm leaving kind of a placeholder here and kind of sharing that there is going to be a book for this challenge. I just don't know what that's going to be as of this time, because the hint from Goodreads is quite vague, and it's along the lines of your book personality awaits, or something like that. Now, I have no idea what that means. I have done kind of some searching on the web, and not really been able to find anything that might hint at what that means or what books might fall under that category. So I just have to acknowledge that this challenge exists. I'm obviously going to be reading towards it. I will kind of share what that is via like another video or a short nearer the time. The hint for that reveals Sunday, I believe. So I'm going to have to see what that looks like. Fingers crossed I've already got a book on my reading list that will meet this. If not, I'll have to find one that appeals the most. And yeah, I'll share what that is in due course. So those are the books I'm going to be reading, hopefully starting the end of this month and into March, kind of in tandem with my other kind of reading commitments. So I'm looking forward to getting to some of those. Have you ever completed a Goodreads reading challenge? Are you going to try and push along with this one with me? If so, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you want to see how I get on, I will publish an update after the challenge is completed to let you know how far I got on. So don't forget to subscribe if you want to be notified when that goes live, alongside all my other bookish content, including reviews, reading lists, reading challenges, and all the other good stuff. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I look forward to seeing you around. Bye for now.